Hello, Bulldog fans. Welcome to the studio, brand new studio, as you can see behind me. Head football coach Anthony Rivalry, appreciate you being in here. This is going to be our normal coaches show. This week we're going to cover 2 weeks. We'll talk about the scrimmage. We'll come back in. We'll talk about Deer Park next week. You know, everybody wants to talk about that. It's a little bit different of what we came into this year. We were speaking just a minute ago, 1A to 4A, they got to go ahead and just go right into football. We kind of had to do the strength and conditioning. What did that look like?
Well, what UIL did was they allowed us 4 extra weeks to kind of get our kids back in shape and to reintroduce football. And so what UIL did was they gave us 2 hours of skills, which is basically your football practice, and then they gave us 2 hours of strength and conditioning. What we chose to do is initially we started 2 hours of skills, and we were doing that for a week. And then after that, we reintroduced the weight room for an hour every other day for the kids, and trying to get back in shape and gradually build that, to where we needed to be. But overall, I think it was really good for us. We were able to get back in shape, learn football, and really get ready to go before the season started.
You know, one of the big questions that parents and everybody wants to know is how are we keeping kids safe on the field, in the locker room, showers, the whole 9 yards. Now, I know this because you and I have been working on this for about 6 weeks, but kind of give us a go around of what it looks like for a player as they come in.
Okay, well, we have our groups, we have them split into 4 groups to go into the locker room. So each kid's locker is four people away from the next locker when they're in there and their group's dressing. And it's difficult to get that going, but we got it set up where that's always small groups in the locker room. We're mandatory masks. I bought every kid a gator mask that goes over their neck that they can pull over their face when they're in the locker room, and even when we're out on the practice field, we're making them keep those masks up over their face. We were very fortunate that we just had a donation that's going to allow us to buy every kid in the program a face shield, what they call a splash guard, that covers the entire face mask, so that'll help. We're sanitizing the shoulder pads and helmets every day after practice. We'll watch everything that they wear at practice gets washed every day. We're just, we're trying to do our best to make sure that we're doing our part, as a football program to make sure that we get to play this year.
That's right, and that's the most important thing is we're bringing the kids in, and under us, we can control them. But there's no controlling them when they leave, and after that, that's out in our hands. But I've got to sit out there, and I watch a lot of practices, and I'm around a lot. I've seen a lot of reminders also being told, and that's something that you see on the field as they're going out and practicing. They've gotten into that rhythm of making sure that their mask is staying up and they're going in through it. I haven't really seen anything that's been just blatant or anything.
No, and even us as coaches, we're out there fat and out of shape trying to run around too. But after we've been doing this for 6 weeks now, I go through a whole practice and I didn't even notice I got my mask on. Right. You get used to it, and I think your lungs and everything develops to it. So I think the fact that we've been doing this for 7 to 8 weeks with our kids, I think they're starting to get used to it.
So this past Saturday, was your first scrimmage. I'm gonna call it a scrimmage, and it was. I know it was scripted. You had everybody in full pads. That's really the first time that everybody had an opportunity to put somebody on the ground, move around. How'd you feel coming out of Saturday scrimmage?
I felt like it went really well. We knew, some of the things that you're always worried about is being able to line up and then execute. And I thought we did that for the most part. I thought the physicality of the scrimmage was pretty good. One thing that, we noticed as a staff is, maybe because we've been going for so long in shorts and shoulder t-shirts, is our intensity wasn't where we needed to be. So we tried to pick up intensity a little bit this week in practice. We hadn't been as, normally you come into 2-a-days and you're trying to kill them and get them in shape and get them ready. But we've had so long to get ready, we hadn't had to do those same things. And me and Coach Taylor, we sit down every day after practice, and he has some data and we go through it. So we've been using that. But overall, really impressed with everybody in the scrimmage. I thought it went really well.
We take the scrimmage, you watch the film, we go in. Are you attacking this week, even though it's a scrimmage, as a game week? Is this going to be your normal game week as you come into here?
We try to practice like it was a game week. We're doing a little bit different this year just because of the way we're trying to, keep certain groups with certain groups and things of that nature and follow the guidelines. So we practice like we're going to practice the rest of the year. And we're going to go back and tweak it a little bit this week. We just wanted the kids to feel comfortable with how practice was going to flow. But we did prepare for, like a game. We looked at some Clear Falls. We looked at some Deer Park. and just try to get ready for, both of them.
Right.
Going into the scrimmage, I'm not going to over game plan or anything like that. We're going to call everything that we have in our playbook set Friday against Clear Falls and see how the kids handle it, see what adjustments we need to make. Work on throwing the football a little bit because that's something we need to improve on.
Yes.
Not necessarily going to look what it's going to look like in a game, but we're trying to get better at different things.
Right. So tell us how the scrimmage is going to look. We're going to have people watch this, and we're going to go into this 4:30, 5:30, and then varsity, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us how it's
So at 4:30, we'll have the freshman A and we call it the freshman orange, the freshman white. They'll be going opposite directions at the same time, and one defense will be going, one offense will be going, and then the coaches will flip. We still hadn't got those teams set. We're just giving kids opportunities. We'll evaluate the scrimmage film before we do that. Clear Falls, because they have some kids quarantined, they only have one JV. So, we're kind of thin in some areas, so it's going to help us too. So it'll look like a regular scrimmage versus them. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll get ready to go versus Clear Falls. We'll run a couple of series of just plays, won't matter down in distance. And then we'll do 2 live quarters. And then at the end, when those 2 live quarters are over, we'll come back and do an overtime session just to give our kids that experience.
One of the things I didn't mention is number of kids that came out, even with the pandemic going on as it is, and what you found. I see a lot of kids out there. How many kids do you have on the freshman level and then on the
on the freshman level, we got about 80. It seems like I get an email every day from another kid wanting to play football. So we'll take anybody that wants to play.
There you go. That's right.
We don't make any cuts. Everybody gets to play. And then in the older levels, the 10th through 12th graders, we got about 115 kids. We're thin in some spots. We got a lot of skilled kids. The bigger kids is where we're a little thin. But anytime you got that many kids in your program, it seems like we're in good shape as far as numbers goes.
We're getting back into the numbers. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. You're going to see some of our sponsors, maybe the sponsor that is taking care of our shields for us. We'll be back. We'll talk about Deer Park and a couple other things. We'll be back right after this.
If you're ready to become a skilled and safe driver, contact us at South Region Driving School. We are conveniently located next to LaPorte High School. We offer driver education classes and private driving lessons for teen and adult drivers. All courses are state approved and can be tailored to meet all your driving needs. At South Region Driving School, our top priority is always the safety of our students. We are currently practicing in-class social distancing. DPS has a very long wait list for driving tests. Don't wait. We can do the DPS-approved road test here at South Region. From the first time behind the wheel to the day of the driving test, we'll guide your teen to success. At South Region Driving School, we develop safe drivers.
Do this so that we can do this.
You do this so we can do this.
Are you looking for your dream home? Or maybe ready to sell your current home for a fresh start? Main Properties is here to provide you a personal and stress-free process. Main Properties has been servicing the LaPorte area and its surrounding cities for over 30 years with pride and spirit. Let one of our expert realtors here at Main Properties provide you with the caring service that is tailored to what you need. Come see us in the heart of Old LaPorte at 1014 South 2nd Street and let us put sold on your sign.
Coach, you've been here now for a whole year. You got the Deer Park week under your belt, but we start off the season with Deer Park in the middle of this where we're having to limit people in, and we're not going to talk about tickets. I know it's changed since we left the stadium to get over here, but what do you see this week as for your players and for the people of this community? How's it kind of grown on you a little bit?
Man, you just, once you sit back and you look at last year and you saw the amount of people that were there at that game, and you look back at the rest of the games, you can just tell what it means to this community. Yes. And that community when when they play each other. So when we knew we were going to be 5A and they were going to be 6A, me and Coach Flynn, their head coach, we got together and we both felt that it was important that we kept playing, for both communities. And we want to keep the rivalry alive. So we were able to get that game one. We felt like it'd be a great start this season for both of us, to get out there and get the rivalry game, get all the fans out there and let them see what both teams are about. But, it's just important. I think it's important to this community and their community. I think they're both hardworking communities.
Oh,
You got
yes.
blue collar people,
Yes.
and they want to see good football, and I think that's what we're trying to put out there for both communities.
Well, my broadcast partner has been here forever. He's as old as Jesus. He'll tell you that these communities play football together. They play Pee Wee baseball together, and then you split for your high school career if you're on one side of Underwood and on the other side. So they do grow up together here in this, and this will be my 17th border battle, which that seems like it was just yesterday, my 17th, and I think I can't remember one that's ever been small or ever been just not really talked about.
Yeah.
It's always been through that. So that's where we are. The bad thing about this is you're playing Deer Park the first week and you're trying to figure out your two deep. So
Yeah.
where are you on your two deep going into this scrimmage from this week? Are you almost there, or are we still looking at certain positions?
I mean, I think we try to evaluate year round, and we feel like we're pretty close to what we're going to see. But I mean, we're going to really watch the scrimmage film from every level. And if there's a kid that we feel like, he went out to scrimmage and he earned that spot, then we're going to move him up because we're going to play the best players on
Right.
Friday night.
Right.
And so if a kid earns that right, then we'll give them that opportunity. It stinks that we hadn't, had an opportunity. We lost that one scrimmage.
Yes.
You thought you would have got it. You lost spring football.
Right.
Because we talked about that the other day. We felt like there were some kids where we were at before we got shut down in spring break that were on track. That if we did spring football, they might have earned a starting spot before we went home for the summer. But the world changes, and some kids
Exactly.
handled it better than other kids did, and so you're back to ground zero, and you're trying to get over that hump again. And so we're really going to look at this scrimmage, and you know how we do it. We evaluate every week. I mean, we're always looking for that guy that's making a difference. I mean, last year we had some guys that were, we had one kid in particular. He was a senior. He didn't play football the year before, and before we got to the end of the year, he was starting.
Right.
And it just happens because it's such a long process and a long season, and you never know what's going to happen, especially this year. I mean, good gosh, you could get a call on Friday morning that a kid's out, and they could contact trace 4 or 5 kids, and you might lose that many starters. So, I mean, you just got to be ready at all levels, and that's something that, we're going to look at this thing from Friday night and really evaluate it and see where we're at, and we hope we're in a good spot.
Now, one of the things that I want to bring up while we're talking about Deer Park, the JV game was supposed to be on Saturday. They've moved it back to Thursdays, correct? So
Yes,
JV
sir.
will play on Thursday now,
Yes, sir.
instead of Friday, and that was actually moved for COVID related.
For COVID relief, in our district, we had a meeting early on, and that's what a lot of districts were doing. And I thought it was the right thing to do. I still think it's the right thing to do. But we had our district executive committee felt that they wanted to move all those games back to Thursday, because being a 5A school, we have good numbers, but we're still thin at certain positions. So
Exactly.
when you're trying to play 2 JV games and 2 freshman games, and then you're playing a varsity game, I mean, you're just thin on the O-line and D-line as
Exactly.
it is. So if you wake up and one of those kids tests positive on Friday, that could really come back to get you if you don't have those JV kids. So, I mean, we're having to evaluate our depth, and we've even talked about moving some freshman kids up to the JV, one of those JV teams, just to make sure that we're getting to keep those games. Because we do have the good numbers, and with the freshman level, we have good group of O-linemen and D-linemen, so we can use those kids across all those levels.
So let's switch gears, and we're going to look at Deer Park just for a minute before we get into everything else. What do we see that's a little different from Deer Park of this year that we didn't see from last year? What really stands out?
Well, one, there's no Molina. And
There you go. I was waiting on that one.
That makes things, that makes things a lot easier. I mean, even though last year I feel like we had a great game plan, he had one
Yes.
catch, and we took
Yes.
him completely out of the game, and it took
Yes.
them a while to figure that out. They got us on a trick play. I feel like after you watch that game, we should have beat them 35 to maybe 7. And we were playing really good at that time, probably the best that we played all year. But they're still going to be big. They got their 2 running backs back. They got their quarterback back. I don't think they'll be as good on defense. They lost their nose guard and their inside backer, who are really good football
Yes.
players. But I think they're going to be more run heavy this year than they were last year, just because of the fact that their O-line's big and they got those backs back. Actually, tonight I'm going to watch them scrimmage Summer Creek, so I'll know a little bit more about them. One thing they are going to do is they're going to make you line up. They're going to motion and bump and move guys around. We've been looking at some of that stuff, these past 8 weeks. I already told Coach Flynn we had 4 or 5 fake punts for him, and he said, "Oh, we've been practicing." But I think it's going to be a good game, and it'll be a good test for us because we do have some size. We have a couple bigger guys. Our O-line's really good size. Defensive line, we got 2. We're looking for that 3rd guy on the defensive line. But when you start looking at subbing some guys in, we're not as big, and those are kind of things that worry me up front on defense, just not being the size that we would like to have.
Going into this game, have you set your captains yet?
No, we have not. We'll vote on that Saturday.
Okay, so Saturday we'll set captains, so y'all have to wait and tune in on Friday to see who that is. I know who stands out in practice right now. I know when you first got here, we were trying to keep people in one position. We're going to have a few kids move from side to ball this year. Is there a plan on how you're going to do that, or it's going to kind of be by ear?
Well, we've talked early on about rotating kids early, and that's for the simple fact that we're trying to figure out where we are condition-wise. I mean, we lost scrimmages. We hadn't had that many padded practices. Every game I've watched, whether it be college, high school, and even the NFL, when the offenses have got a first down, they seem to have had a pretty successful drive. The defense seems to wear out, but when the defense can get them off the field, it stays even. But you see the conditioning aspect of it at every level seems a little bit different. So we have a plan to rotate guys and keep them fresh. Now, some of those guys, they're just going to have to man up because they're good football players,
exactly right.
And they're going to have to play.
Right.
And my philosophy always was, you teach a guy at one position and let him get really good at it.
Right.
But there were situations last year where I'd look over and I'm like, these are 2 of our best players and they're standing next to me and we're trying to win a football game.
Exactly.
So we've redone that. Guys are practicing offense one day and defense the next day. And so we're hoping that helps us out later in the year. And I'm not so worried about it in these first 2 games. We want to win. That's our goal. But we're trying to get ready for district and make a playoff run.
Awesome. Again, Friday night, Deer Park here. There will be some restrictions on the stadium. We'll get this stuff out to you immediately as soon as everything. We got some changes today on that, so bear with us a little bit as we go into it. Coach, this is our first broadcast for your coach's show, and we'll do this after the Deer Park week going into the lake. We'll have you a new one every week. We need you to make sure that you subscribe to LP Sports Net because that's not only going to get us more viewers, but you'll be able to watch us 9 times this year on the road. We'll be going for a live broadcast as long as we can get into the stadium. We're going to be there for you so that you can watch. Just in case you can't get a ticket, you'll be able to see us there. LPSportsnet.com. It'll take you into YouTube also to watch the live broadcast. We're actually opening up 2 channels this year because the boardroom is now being broadcast during board meetings. We'll have volleyball on Tuesdays. We also have football and volleyball on Fridays. So you'll be able to watch both sports. LP Sportsnet 2 and LPSportsnet.com will both get you there as we need to do that. Thank you very much. I know it's a little longer today. We had to work some kinks out. Football players, baseball players watching us from outside the booth as they're doing that. We appreciate them. Mr. Zabrowski, thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and thank you.
Go Dogs.